I'm presenting to large corporates, $500,000, $250,000 worth of software, and I've got this blocked, snotty nose the whole time. It wasn't good. I'd take the Claritines, but I'd get a bit of temporary relief, but when it wore off, it'd come back, I'd have a rebound, it'd come back with a vengeance. So it was really starting to get me down, so I decided to go back to the doctor. The doctor referred me to the specialist. The specialist looked up my nose and said, what you need is a nose operation. Clean out your nasal passages so that you can breathe. I told him, look, I had one of them, you know, I wasn't too... Oh, he was adamant. He said, you've got a deviated septum, I do them all the time, I'll book you in for next Thursday. So I went home and had a big think. This guy's a specialist. He's the expert here. What, you know, I've got to take these people's advice. And maybe, you know, surely medical science had advanced in 20 years. So I went back and had another nose operation in my late 30s. And I'm here to tell you that medical science had advanced. Instead of a metre of gauze up either side, I had these fancy plugs that they put up now. But I had the same results. A week to 10 days and ka-chunk, it all came back again. So by now I'm getting into my early 40s, I'm starting to be a bit concerned about my, you know, my fitness, my health and my weight. I thought, gee, I better start exercising a bit more. So I joined the gym. I started playing tennis again. Someone got me into bike riding, long distance bike riding. I was doing this big bike ride around the bay in a day every year. And gradually my condition got much, much worse. Much worse. I was really struggling. At night I would wake up 4 times, gasping for air. I'd nuke myself with about 4 puffs of Ventolin, and I'd get myself right, I'd go back to bed, 2 hours later, bang, I'd need it again. Now, of course, we didn't think it had anything to do with exercise, because exercise is supposed to be good for you, isn't it? Well, it turns out it's not that great for you if you don't do it correctly. And the other thing is, well, what we thought was, I was living in a suburban house in Melbourne with ducted heating, blowing the dust around all through the winter. And in my house I had 2 cats and a hairy German Shepherd dog, which my family adored. So everyone figured it was the allergens that was my problem. So it was clear, either the cats and dogs went or, well, they weren't going anywhere, I'm afraid. So I was shelling out money for someone to come and clean out the ducts every other month, someone else to shampoo what was left of the carpets, expensive coverings on the beddings and the pillows, and I was getting worse. So I went back to the doctor, as you do. And the doctor said to me, Brian, it's time for your medication to go south, stronger. What could I do? I was in trouble. So he prescribed for me this little pill called prednisolone. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a little white tablet. It's called an oral corticosteroid. Oral because you take it as a tablet, as distinct from inhaled. It's actually a very good drug for people with respiratory conditions. However, it has very severe side effects. The main one's been a great increase in appetite and subsequent weight gain, easily bruising of the skin, slow to fix and repair any cuts and abrasions, hair loss, stomach ulcers, osteoporosis. Not very pleasant side effects, of which he didn't tell me about at all, but what he did tell me was that this drug was very strong, and I couldn't just take it for a week or so, and if I got better, stop taking it. Because in that short period of time, it would replace my body's own ability to produce the hormone cortisone, a vital defence. And if I stopped taking it, I would have none. And if I had an attack, it would be severe. And I got a little bit, I don't know whether I want to go down this path. I thought, gee, this is pretty serious, you know. Do I want to take... I'd always been very conservative with medications. So anyway, I got the prescription made up. I was quite naive too. This was about 8 years ago. I now know there are many medications you have to wean yourself off, okay? But at the time I just thought, whoa. So I got the prescription made up and I left it on the sideboard. I didn't take it. And I suffered for a couple more days, a couple more nights. And I was just about to give up and I opened up the paper and here was an ad for one of these Buteyko seminars. So I rang him up. I said, what's the story? He said, oh yeah, just got to change the way you've come to breathe. And I said, oh yeah, sure. After all I've been through, it can't be that simple. He said, you know, it's not that simple. But he said it was based on something called the Bohr effect. He said, it's in all the medical textbooks, look it up, learn a bit about it. And I did. And I encourage you guys to look it up as well. It's easier today to look up things because we have something called the internet. And if you put in your Google the words Bohr space effect, you can have a bit of a read about it. So I looked it up, I read a little bit, didn't understand it all, but I decided to do his Buteyko course. And after the second day, I was able to clear and breathe through my nose for the first time in my life. And keep it clear. And on the Wednesday, I went to bed, instead of waking up 4 times needing medication, I only woke up once needing medication. And on the Thursday, I slept through the night. I was told I didn't snore. I needed no medication at all. And I woke up with more energy than I'd had for years. And that was pretty much the end of my problems. I had to continue to work on the method and apply all the little techniques until it all became automatic and my breathing became more normal automatically. But eventually I was able to go back to my doctor and come off all my preventer as well. And that was 8 years ago. And looking back in those 8 years, I haven't had any asthma at all. I don't have any medication. I haven't taken any medication. I go to bed way too late. I drink far too much red wine. Never wake up tired or with a headache or any of those conditions. And of course I put my 2 kids through the course as well. Thomas no longer sneezes non-stop for 6 months of the year. Shocking hay fever. We don't have any tissues in our house that he can leave in his pockets on laundry day. You know? And Amy doesn't have any asthma at all. She doesn't take any medications whatsoever. Okay, she plays lots of sports. She's now 20. She joins the gym. And she doesn't have to put up with any of these conditions. So yes, I did very well on the Buteyko course, but it wasn't without some effort. It does take a bit of effort to change the way you've come to breathe over all these years. And I was given a number of challenges. But the main challenge that I was given, the biggest challenge, most important challenge that I was given, is the same challenge that I give you people that come along to these seminars that I run every week. And the challenge that I'd like to give you is, what I'd like you to try and do for the next 24 hours is only ever breathe through your nose. Now, you're allowed to speak, right? You're allowed to eat, you're allowed to drink, but the rest of the time I'd like you to have your lips sealed, breathing only in and out through your nose. Now, so I'd like you just to observe yourself, see how you go. Now, when I suggest this to people who come along to these seminars, most you're all sitting in the chair, you think, what's the big deal, that's not that hard, you know. But most people fail the challenge the minute they get out of their chair to walk out the door. Mouth comes open. You go outside and the cool air hits you. Mouth comes open. Reach over to pick up something, do up your shoe or whatever. And what about when you eat? Are you one of these people that eats air and food at the same time? What about when we brush our teeth, wash our hair? Most people find this impossible when it's first suggested to you. So I'd like you just to observe yourself. And what about when we go to sleep? If you ever, during the night, wake up with a dry mouth, if you make frequent trips to the toilet at night, if you have any coughing, wheezing, congestion at night or in the morning, if you shake or shudder in your sleep, if you snore, if you gasp or stop breathing with any apnea at night, if you ever get restless leg syndrome, if you get leg cramps, often in the early hours of the morning. And the final one is, I suppose, no matter how early you go to sleep, no matter how many hours you spend sleeping, you still wake up and find yourself tired and sleepy during the day. All of these things indicate incorrect breathing. And you would get fantastic improvement in a very short space of time by addressing the real cause with the Buteyko method.